Hello, this is the Great Jew Atheist, and this is podcast number 23. Please comment and like this video, and email me at greatjewatheist@gmail.com, greatjewatheist@gmail.com. Okay, and today's podcast is concerned. Something's not working. Oh, is it 4 or 5? Fucking PowerPoint, 8 PowerPoint. Okay, today's podcast concerns God, the adult tooth fairy. Okay, and that's what a God is. It's a tooth fairy by adults, right? By the Great Jew Atheist. Okay, so let's get into it. Okay. Now, there are many arguments why God does not exist, and it's just rather obvious. What I can't see is why anyone could, in their wildest mind, believes in God. I mean, it's beyond me. The obvious reason, children are just brainwashed, right? I asked my mother, "Oh, where's God? Where is he?" My mother, you look at the bewilderment. He's everywhere, she didn't know. He's nowhere, really. I mean, because he doesn't exist. He's a figment of everyone's collective imagination. But it's amazing is so many people believe in it's given more weight than UFO, Bigfoot, ghosts, and it's just unbelievable. It's just like, why even? I mean, that's the only reason why I even comment on this, is because it's just so ridiculous. If like 20% of the population believed in God, like the 20% of the United States are secular or atheists, really. I mean, I can't even believe that. I mean, show me the atheists, show them. I think everyone fucking believes it. I feel like I'm the only person going, "Oh God, I know God help me." It's really stupid. You gotta be dumb. You just gotta be dumb. You cannot. I mean, you have to lack some IQ. Smart people do not believe in God. Like atheists, people who are good at business, people who are science, doctors and lawyers. You just can't believe. I mean, you can't be that illogical. It's just just dumbness. Okay. So my reasoning, which is I'm sure some philosopher has gone over it. My theory is something called beliefs and knowings. Okay. Now let's talk about beliefs first. Okay. Beliefs are basically claims that you don't have enough or any evidence for them to be proven true. Okay. So for instance, children had beliefs at one point. They believed in the tooth fairy. They believed it was true, right? And they also believed in Santa Claus. I even believed in Santa Claus, and and I'm Jewish, and one of my brothers, he also told me professional wrestling was fake, and I was upset by that. And he said, "Well, there's no such thing as Santa Claus." I said, "Huh? It can't be true." And I also believe there are monsters, and my favorite, and I put up a little picture of him, is the boogeyman. The boogeyman. And it's funny. I had this fundamental friend, but he, I had to get rid of him because he's just a little too nutty. So I told him that I was the devil, and he said that I'm going to send Jesus to you tonight. And I said, basically the idea of God is believing in the boogeyman, something that doesn't exist. He goes, "I kill the boogeyman." So to me, that was a veiled reference, because he believes in things that doesn't exist. And if you believe in things that don't exist, you could definitely extend it to things that do exist. So I basically blocked him, and I have not called him since that night. No sense of talking to a fucking idiot. Okay, now adults have beliefs too. Again, things that they think are true, but are unable to prove that are true. And what are some of these? Well, in these categories, and you got to admit, even though a lot of people believe in the last one, it's pretty much the same thing. UFOs, Bigfoot, and the Yeti, and all kinds of man apes, which would be good because maybe we could, if they did exist, maybe we could show that there is a very close relative of the human species, but and ghosts, the Amityville Horror. My theory, of course, is no simple one. Like my sister saying, there was like squirrels in the in the walls of her house, and it sounded like a human being, and yeah, that's what happened basically. And there's always a good explanation. Jesus didn't walk on water, of course. Okay, and of course the last belief that is not. There's not actually no evidence. There's more evidence of UFOs, Bigfoot, and ghosts. So if you believe in God or Jesus, you are just dumb. You are a total fucking moron. I mean, I don't know how 80% of the population in the United States believes in some kind of God or Jesus. And you see a nice picture of them hanging out, one has a cross on him, after he got hung, crucified, he brought the cross with him. It's so crazy. And then God has a little 10 Commandments, or there's a book, and there's a dove or something, flying above them, and it's lunacy. It's just, you gotta be a lunatic, and people actually believe this, and my friend, my former friend, it's the blood, it's the blood, it's the breath of Christ, it's the flesh. It's like, you can't be this dumb. And I used to tell him, you cannot be this dumb. No one could be this dumb, So he believes in these things that don't exist. I mean, there's no proof, there's no evidence, there's no evidence. Again, the UFOs, they actually got pictures of, things like flying saucers. They look pretty good, I mean, again, I don't believe it. I think it's nonsense. You say, well, what's your theory on UFOs? So it's very simple, things that might be intelligent life, most probably, and again, I won't say 100% sure, I'd say like 98% sure, could not reach here because intergalactic space is too far. Maybe there's some kind of black hole you can go through, but that's even probably unmanageable. Bigfoot, of course, there's been sightings, there's been pictures, a lot of anecdotal evidence, but they've never come back with a hair. You figure they catch one now, in Africa when the natives said, there's a man-like being in the forest, like in the 1800s, immediately they captured one like within a week, Didn't take long, And Bigfoot, the Yeti, the Sasquatch, I remember as a kid, there was a great movie, The Legend of Boggy Creek, and my favorite scene was, Falco, Arkansas, and this guy was like taking a dump in the bathroom, was like reading something, and the Bigfoot burst in. It was great. I was so scared. That was a great movie. So, the preview movie is the Magnificent Seven, the original Magnificent Seven. That's how old I am. So now let's get to another kooky belief, and the kookiest one, I think. And again, why only 20%? Well, you might say, well, what's 20% of the population? And 20% of the population is secular. Okay, they have no gods, and they're smart. Like scientists, and social scientists, and doctors, and lawyers. Smart people, right? And and architects. My friend, who's a little nutty, he's a Roman Catholic. He said he was strong, and he says, I'm gonna live forever. I'm gonna, okay. Yeah, maybe we'll do something on death and the meaning of life. People say, well, life has meaning because when I die, life has no meaning. It never did. It never has, and whatever you do has no meaning. So. What could be the meaning? I don't know. I mean, tell me. I wish I know. It's interesting. The people And religion's based on a lot of people have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. In Judaism, of course, they have the washing of hands and the prayers 3 times a day. You got to do it. Muslims, one of the branches, Shia Muslims, they have to pray 5 times a day to Mecca, and the Jews have to pray 3 times a day to Jerusalem. So they have to speak words which no one's listening to. Now, schizophrenia is definitely, if you really, maybe you're hopeful. If you really believe in God, you probably have schizophrenia. If you hear, if you definitely hear God thinks God spoke to you, you have schizophrenia. Okay, my theory is if you think there's a God, you have schizophrenia. Okay, you would have to have schizophrenia. There's no other explanation. Okay, if you believe that burning bushes talk and deliver commandments, and you have schizophrenia. That's all you have. No shame. You have a brain disorder. There's no shame in schizophrenia. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a good thing. Hear some sounds, and it's now. So God and Jesus, believe it or not, the beliefs are probably the most ridiculous beliefs, And, it's sad when a man as brilliant as Richard Dawkins has to come and, and just murder, and Sam Harris have to just debate these idiots, who think that they can, the reason and the logic of, a Richard Dawkins. Let's get to the other side, knowings, okay? Now, what is a knowing? Okay, things that you empirically know must exist. Like, you don't need evidence, I think everyone can safely say there are dogs. Children know there are dogs. They love a little puppy dog. Oh, mommy, I want a puppy dog, And they're cats, and they know. They see a car. Oh, mommy, I want to go to the car. I want to go in. And they know I have a mommy and daddy. My mommy and daddy. And I see these kids today. I say, oh, you know what the fuck you're going to be getting into a few years. And, it's always a sad thing. So this really pretty girl, she must have been like 14, 15. I was like, wow, she's so beautiful. And little does she know what's going to happen to her. Assuming she makes it like 50 or 60 years in time, and assuming, of course, that they don't figure something out to stop the aging process. It's not a pretty scene, It's just, and I'm assuming, it's going to take, if they ever figure it out, it's going to take a few generations, maybe 10, 15 generations. Maybe AI could figure it out. Okay, adults have knowings. Again, what is a knowing? Something empirically, objectively, you say must exist. Gotta exist. I don't think anyone debates these things. That automobiles exist, that taxes exist, that one has to earn a livelihood somehow, whether it's through begging, whether it's through sick leave with half pay, which I'm enjoying right now, which should never end, and iPhones, the nice picture of an iPhone, right? I got the same iPhone. Oh, what a wonderful device. My brother attacked me this weekend. My brother does very well, and I don't do so well. And he attacked me told him, the iPhone costs, basically $30 a month. You pay it off little by little, and the iPhone 8. And he basically gave me the key, and he bought a Motorola with an Android, right? And he said, I can afford it with that, you can't, and it's typical family shit. And I'm like, okay. You had to go on they love that. They're going on the attack, and, it reminds me of the story of this fundamentalist guy. I got this friend, and he, he's coming to loan money. So I warned him against this, He's a little generous, and so I said, look out for this. So he takes him and this other guy out to lunch, out to breakfast. They go to IHOP, and the other, so the two guys, one of them orders, just pancakes, And the fundamentalist guy goes, you know what? I haven't had a T-bone steak in a long time. I'm gonna take a T-bone. You know, he's such a fucking idiot. He's the embodiment of idiocy. Now, if I said to you, so knowings make sense. So if if Jesus was on a cloud, I think it might become a knowing, you know, but I don't worry about that much, you know, as Richard Dawkins said, you know, a guy who in the audience says, what if Jesus one day appeared on a cloud? Then what would you say? It's nothing, he goes in his English accent, that's nothing I lose sleep over. Me either, I don't lose much sleep over it. So if I said to you, for instance, when iPhones are just a fake, what happens is, you know, they're telepathic devices. You hit the YouTube, and it's really, you do it in your mind. You would think I'm nuts. You would think I'm nuts, and that's what God and Jesus. I mean, you're fucking nuts. You're nuts. You're fucking nuts, or you're dumb, and probably both. Okay. Okay. Let's get to the last slide. Keep it short. Okay. Okay. Guess I forget something. Got my notes. I'm not gonna lie. All right. Famous arguments against the existence of God. So, what are common arguments? I gave my arguments. So, the first one is the argument from inconsistent revelations. Now, the Jews in the Tanakh, the Christians in the New Testament, the Muslims in the Quran, and the Mormons in the Book of Mormon all have revelations on how to become one with God, or how God came to be, or not God came to be because He's always there, right? Or how to get to heaven, or whatever the fuck they believe. And so you'd have to say at least three of the four are wrong, right? So pick your choice. Let's say the Mormons are right, then the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims are wrong. Okay, the Christians for some reason think they're right, so the Jews, the Muslims, and the Mormons would be wrong. Now, the most likely scenario is all four of them are wrong. Maybe there's something that has not yet been discovered, some kind of Elon Musk type thing, where he's God, and there's two gods, like Sam Harris and Elon Musk. They are both gods, okay? So maybe that's how it works, The second, by the way, there are many arguments that are good. These are some of the ones I like. The destiny of the unevangelized. So basically, this is in Islam, but Christianity too is basically the biggest promoter of this. Now, basically, you have to believe that Jesus is the Son of God. Okay, so that's really important. Now, if you don't believe, and if you believe He's the Son of God, you'll have forever life, right? Or some nutty shit. I don't know if I'd want to live forever, to tell you the truth. You have angels, maybe you'll have fucking hot women, maybe Shannon Doherty in her prime. Oh, she was so fucking hot in her prime, man. Fuck. I used to spank the monkey to her a lot, So now, if you don't believe in her, Jesus will personally throw you into a lake of fire. There's a couple of problems with the lake of fire. First of all, lakes don't go into fire a lot. Maybe a volcano. I don't know. Maybe I guess it could be boiling. The lake of fire. Okay, so the destiny unevangelized means that there are many people. Let's say you're in India. You're born in I don't know, Sri Lanka or something, and you live a short life, maybe 20, and not the best conditions, and you get involved in the they have some kind of war, Tamils and whatever, and you get killed. Okay, and there was never never had access to the news. There's no there was no Billy Graham, and there was no Pat Robertson, and there was no what's that, Jimmy Swaggart, and no fundamental Pentecostals are the biggest nuts. They're fucking, what is that? Speaking in tongues, blah 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 blah. What the fuck? Man. So basically, the destiny of unevangelized mean you would go to hell because you never accepted Jesus. But the problem is you didn't know about Jesus, right? Oh, but you didn't go, you didn't explore the world enough in your 22 years to find out about Jesus. So that's your fault. Okay, let's go to the argument from poor design. Now, there are many poor designs in nature, but let's just focus on humans, okay? Now, a omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent creator God would create organisms that have optimal designs. Organisms have features that are suboptimal. Therefore, God did not create organisms that are God. Therefore, God either did not create these organisms, or is not omnipotent, omniscient. I think I got a problem with that. Omnipotent. I got a problem with that. So, what are some examples of this? Human beings. Let's just stick to human beings. What's the whole list of them? The existence of the pharynx, the passage used for the ingestion, respiration, the constant consequences, the drastic increase of choking risk. You might see my notes, but again, I'm 53 years old. I can't remember shit anymore. I got a 140 IQ. I tell people that. I got like a late 120s, fucking moron. I'm not that smart. That's one example. Of course, the heart is poorly designed. The arteries that go to the heart, clog up, and 50 to 75% of the people, Thank you. Fundamentalists need to thank the Jew medical sciences that are figuring out how to unclog those arteries or do open heart surgery. The heart is not poor, but the vessels going to the heart, after you turn 50, first of all, they're not rubbery, or they don't bend well. They hardening of the arteries, so the blood does not go away, and that could be, so the heart has to pump much harder, and the heart in its later life is not good at that. So eventually, you will die of a heart problem. If you don't die from something else like cancer, God, he wasn't good with the cells that did not go with the program. Cells, that didn't, liver cell, for example, that didn't follow the liver program. That became a runaway. Said, I don't want to be a liver cell anymore. I want to go by myself. I want to become a liver cancer. That's all cancer is a cell that doesn't want to stay the organ that it is. Like a lung cancer doesn't want to be a lung cell anymore. It just wants to go off on its own. And smokers get them a lot more, because the DNA is messed up by tobacco smoke. So. And then they kill you, so, God was like, I won't even think about that, he's kind of I'm kind of incompetent, kind of lazy, I'm creating I'm creating life, I'm creating man. You think you would think about that? That's an important thing, God, you think, another thing is, Randall Nesse was being interviewed by Richard Dawkins, talks about the fact that the connection between the brain and the larynx is not direct. The nerve that goes to the larynx goes around, I think, the heart, and then loops up and hits the larynx. And there's all kinds of horrible design, in the human body, And what's the reason, of course, is because evolution will not redesign something, it will take what it's got. You go to a chimpanzee, probably the same things, God didn't make a good heart in the chimpanzee, I mean, Russell's teapot, okay. Russell's teapot is interesting. Some philosophers, to my disappointment, because I always love this one, and there's a philosopher and a very smart guy, Bertrand Russell, and I think he lived till 98 or something. He says, burden of proof is on the claimant. So if you say God exists, you can't say, prove to me God doesn't exist, right? And he said, well, and you say, well, why is that? Why do I have to prove, why don't you prove God doesn't exist? He said, well, think of this thought experiment. I say to you, between the Earth and Mars is a teapot, and it's orbiting it's orbiting around the Earth and Mars, And you say, well, okay, prove it. Well, it's there, go look for it with your telescope, but that's expensive, and it's there, I proved it, So you have to prove it, you Christian fundamentalists. Now, we don't have to prove God exists. We just know he exists. He's proven it. He's created this beautiful paradox of the universe with wife beaters and rapists and child molesters and earthquakes and wildfires and hurricanes and tornadoes, and I think that's enough evidence that the universe, the earth, and I think that's the evidence. And killers that just people that just walk into a place and just shoot it up, kill 12 people. I think that's evidence that God's hands at work. Dumb, you're just so dumb. There's not there's people with Down syndrome that make you look, they look like Einstein. If you believe in God, and after seeing this podcast, and you still believe, and you watch the whole thing. I know some of you are going to turn it off immediately, and if you still believe in God, after this podcast, you are extraordinarily dumb. I mean, you are dumber than, you are just so dumb that there's not words to describe you. I mean, you cannot, if you believe a burning bush talked to God, you cannot, I mean, you vote. You cannot be taken seriously. I mean, you can't, I mean, even if you don't believe in the burning bush, okay, that's a story. I hope you be up to that step. But if you believe that there's a guy up there and he's watching every move, but you can't see him, you can't hear him, and if he talks to you, you're schizophrenic, and if you really believe, and if when you die, your soul's going to go to heaven. Of course, you don't have a soul because your brain is everything you got, right, in terms of your consciousness. And if you really, you get colossally, I gotta look up the word, more than dumb. Like I was saying, my life is more than fucking horrible. It really is. It's more than horrible, horrendous.